Mr. Wong, you may start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can we start now? Can we start?
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the fourth iteration of the Next Energy Frontiers Southeast Asia webinar series brought to you by ENGIE. I'm Wong Ying-Kee, Managing Director of ENGIE Services Malaysia, one of the fastest growing entities under ENGIE Southeast Asia. And I'll be your MC and moderator today. The Next Energy Frontiers Southeast Asia webinar series is a multi-city conversation of ENGIE on unlocking the full value of energy transition in the region. This is exactly the platform where we engage with the key stakeholders in the industry to gather their insights and perspectives on how we can all work together towards a paradigm of sustainability, innovation, and resilience. The goal is to address the gaps in decarbonization and build stronger and greener cities. ENGIE is very honored to be the conference partner of iGEM 2021, one of the largest trade events in the region for green technologies brought to you by Malaysian Green Technology and Climate Change Centre, in short, MGTC. We would like to offer a big thank you to MGTC for giving us the opportunity to bring to you today's webinar, Accelerating the Energy Evolution in the Industrial Sector. We have a lineup of industry experts to discuss the opportunities and challenges in energy transition, to share best practices and also some of the solutions and technologies that companies can adopt to drive their sustainability agenda. The list of very distinguished panelists joining us today for the conversation are Mr. Rosman Hamza, Secretary General of Malaysian Gas Association, Mr. Suraj Radhakrishnan, Senior Technical Advisor, Power and Process Asia from Jacobs Engineering Group Malaysia, Mr. Guillaume Damayan, Head of Industry Solutions, ENGIE Southeast Asia. Shortly, we'll be hearing from our panelists very soon, but we will also like to hear from you to make this session a little bit more interactive. So we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the discussion with our panelists. The Q&A board is now open. If you have any questions which you would like the panelists to address, please type them into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen anytime during the session. With that, I would like to take this opportunity to give you a quick introduction of our panelists. Let us start with Mr. Rosman Hamza. Rosman has joined the Malaysian Gas Association as the Secretary General in 2016, offering the organization extensive knowledge across the energy sector, contacts across the entire value chain, and persuasive skills to effectively bring together all the stakeholders, including regulators, government-linked companies, multinational organizations, and key influencers. Rosman, perhaps you would like to take the floor and give a quick introduction about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Ying-Kee. So first of all, thank you, ENGIE, and also iGEM for inviting us. I'm representing Malaysian Gas Association, or MGA. It's a non-profit organization and non-government industry association representing more than 130 corporate members from across the gas value chain. So we are actually widely known as a lead advocate for the Malaysian gas industry, engaging policymakers and key stakeholders in promoting a vibrant and sustainable gas industry. As mentioned by Ying-Kee just now, I'm the Secretary General of NGA. I personally have been in the energy sector for over 27 years. That also includes working for several foreign MNCs. In fact, I'm also a colleague of Suraj, my fellow panelist here, for several years in one of those companies. Okay, back to you, Ying-Kee.
Thank you, Rosman. Now I would like to introduce Suraj, the Senior Technical Advisor at Jacobs Engineering Group Malaysia. With over 20 years experience and background in electrical engineering, Suraj has managed large-scale solar, waste-to-energy and thermal power plant projects in Malaysia and diverse worldwide locations. Let us hear a bit more from Suraj himself. Suraj, the floor is yours.
Hi, Ying-Kee. And thank you, ENGIE, for organizing this webinar, and also the brief intro from Rosman, who I know very well before. As you mentioned, I'm a senior technical advisor with Jacobs Engineering, formerly known as Sinclair Knights Merck, with a presence in Malaysia since 1990s. We have a local team to serve clients from the power generation and renewable energy sector. Jacobs Engineering, it's a US-based firm, and through the acquisition of CH2M, also expertise in businesses. And we are
and thanks for sharing some of the very interesting work that you have done as well. And last but not least, before we move on to the panel discussion, let us hear from Guillaume. Guillaume has been in the energy industry for more than 14 years. Recently, Guillaume has also led very successful ventures into with ENGIE into some multiple utility projects, the first of its kind in the region. Guillaume, the next 1 minute is yours.
Hi, thanks a lot, Zinky. Good afternoon, everybody. So, indeed, my name is Guillaume Darmeyen. I'm in Southeast Asia now for more than 10 years. I'm French citizen, based in Singapore. I'm currently leading the development of ENGIE in Southeast Asia for industrial customers. So what it means, ENGIE is here to put its technical capabilities and its financial capabilities to support industrial side, manufacturing side, or any type of industry, but as well real estate clients, government, cities, and many other stakeholders to reduce their CO2 footprint and to reduce their environmental impact. So that's really our purpose, and that's what we are developing for now, almost 10 years in Southeast Asia and in APAC in general. And I have the pleasure to represent ENGIE here today together with ENGIE. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Guillaume, and all the panelists for sharing your background and all the interesting work that you have done in your respective field. So back in June, when we had our last webinar, the group of panelists discussed extensively on the impact and importance of decarbonization, and also shared some of the opportunities and challenges in decarbonization for the industrial sector. As we all know, energy transition and decarbonization is a big agenda. It cannot be achieved overnight without any collective efforts. So this is also has organized another webinar today, where we gathered all the experts in the industry and talk about some of the new technologies that they have been adopting or developing to drive the energy evolution in the industrial sector. To start the ball rolling, maybe let us hear from Suraj. Suraj, can you share your thoughts on the overall energy evolution in the industrial sector, and why do you think that it is so important?
Yeah, thank you, Yankee. Let me share my opinion in the energy evolution, sorry. And for me, it leads towards the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. We serve clients with the key agenda for decarbonization of electricity, as you mentioned earlier. The policies in Malaysia do support this move to more sustainable fuel, and Malaysia has, through the various Malaysian plans, has defined renewable energy as the fifth fuel, and have a current RE capacity of 31% by 2025. So all the policies are in place, but now we need to accelerate it with the implementation of renewable energy efforts. So besides guidelines and policies, there are notable decree from government and financial institutions globally and in Malaysia, limiting the funding or even stopping funding for coal-fired plants and so on. And this growing need, should I say, the growing desire for renewable energy is built around climate change issues and the move towards more sustainable sort of business we live in. So in the industrial sector, We serve clients to meet their corporate goals towards decarbonization and sustainable energy. This paves the way for the industrial sector to find alternative source of energy compared to their business as usual. To quote Steve Jobs, if you define the problem correctly, you almost have the solution. So the opportunities will need to be clear in the industrial sector, and it's mission critical that they understand the local resources to assess the solution that best fits their business. So we must understand their business goals and find the right path. There's no one solution fits all. So the areas of renewable energy, I would say, that we focus in is waste energy, which is there's a growing need with increased greenhouse gas emissions, and to reduce them to meet the Paris Agreement and UN SDG goals. Solar is, of course, is paving its way and move out of the feed-in tariff. Now it's on its own in an electricity tariff with PPAs. Cogeneration is another area we see that will suit industrial clients. And also Jacob's also look at small hydroelectric power projects. So why is it important? It just makes sense from a business perspective to focus on sustainability. So there is a need to shift. There's a need to evolve into renewable energy and to transition away from fossil fuel. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Suraj, for sharing. I definitely like the quote from Steve Jobs as well. But Rosman, can you also share your thoughts on this particular topic? Why do you think energy evolution is so important for the industrial sector?
Yeah, thanks, Inky. Okay, so basically Suraj has taken all my points, so I now have to figure out another angle that is different to him. Let me take you back to history. So actually my first job was providing technical support to factories located around Malaysia. That's about 4 locations in Peninsular Malaysia and also in Sabah. That was way back in the 90s. So in those days, the priorities in regards to energy, the priorities for the companies are only 2. They want a stable and reliable supply to ensure continuous operation of the factory, sometimes 24/7, and also to have the affordable. At that time, affordable means cheapest. So those factories need electricity and steam. For electricity, they just simply take from the grid, and for steam boiler, the solution at that time was to use diesel. But the thing is, during that time, the emissions are taking a backseat, emission control, I mean. During that time, there was no concerns regarding to CO2 emissions. There was no concerns on climate change. And even the clean air regulations in the 90s, the one that they used were drafted in 2078. And renewable energy, like what Suraj mentioned, only become popular when it's recognized as the fifth fuel in 2001. Okay, so fast forward to today, environment is getting higher in the priority. Okay, in order to reduce pollution, the government has already revised the clean air regulation in 2014, making it a bit more stringent in terms of pollution emission, in particular, particulate matters, that dust, SOx, and also the NOx. Malaysia also has committed to a voluntary GHG emission of 45% reduction by 2030. It used to be 35% plus 10%, 35% voluntary plus 10% with support. I think about 2-3 weeks ago, we submitted our latest NDC where we committed a voluntary of 45%. And as what Suraj mentioned, we now have set a target of 31% of RE in our installed capacity by 2035. So using clean and efficient technology is not just an expectation from the civil society, it's actually being increasingly demanded by the shareholders and also the financial institution. So businesses today has to embrace the energy evolution and have to try to adopt. Okay? But having said that, the priorities in the 90s that I mentioned earlier are still valid. Okay, the companies still need stable and reliable energy supply, and they still need energy to be affordable. So now we have to play a balance between the priorities of energy security, energy affordability, and also the environment. So it's basically the energy trilemma. Back to you, Inky.
Sorry, Yinki, if I may, that you just highlighted a very interesting point, and to go even further, I do think that this transition and this evolution is even a requirement that will help all the business, including the industry, in many other aspects. So of course, I fully agree with you that this is mandatory because now we need to source very stable and very cheap energy. And right now, solar energy, for example, in Malaysia, is cheaper than the cost than the grid. So renewable energy now is not something which has a premium. It is something which is cheaper than the electricity, but as well, it helps all the businesses with their client. I mean, who is going to buy a product which is not at least a minimum renewable produced with renewable energy now? It will help HR. Who is going to, which young engineer wants to work for the coal industry now? Nobody. It will help the branding of the company, which will help the sales guys. It will help. So we can see ENGIE as a consultant arm which support the different industry to drive roadmap for decarbonization, which is called ENGIE Impact. And we can see that the different drivers of their clients is basically driven by a lot of different benefits. And really we always think about the financial market. We always think about financial institution, the banks, which doesn't want to finance a dirty project, I would say. But it's not only this, HR, sales, and you can account any and all different part of and stakeholder of a company. They will be impacted by this kind of evolution, which will give a huge competitive edge to any kind of industry.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, Guillaume and Rosman, for your perspective. I do agree that sustainability or energy transition is no longer an option, if you like, for corporates or companies anymore. It's probably a necessity if you don't want to be left behind the curve by the entire industry, right? But if I may, let us dive a bit more into the technology aspect of the evolution. Rosman, given your background, how do you think technologies like natural gas or bio-CNG is playing a key part in the entire evolution, and how do you think this is contributing? These two technologies are contributing to the entire energy transition.
Okay, allow me to answer this in two parts. Okay, first of all, natural gas can increase the efficiency of your energy conversion. I think Suraj just mentioned about cogen. So if your facility requires a steam or hot water or chilled water with electricity, then your best option would be to install a cogen plant where the energy conversion efficiency can actually exceed 85%. And you are also in control of your electricity generation, and you can even sell the excess electricity to the grid. So for the cogen plant, you can actually use either gas turbine or gas engine, and both of these can be fired using natural gas, and it also can be fired by using biomethane. So basically, bio-CNG is a compressed version of the biomethane. So as of 2016, there is around 450 palm oil mills in Malaysia. And in 2013, the National Biomass Strategy expect that by last year that the country will have some 100 million ton of palm oil mill effluents or POME that basically can produce biogas. So when you clean the biogas from POME that you get from POME, you can convert it to biomethane. So just now, as I mentioned, the biomethane, which has properties very close to natural gas, can actually be used to combust in the gas turbine, so basically to drive your gas turbine or gas engine. So you can actually either use biomethane fully in your in the cogen plant, or if you do not have sufficient biomethane, you can always mix it with natural gas. And for you to transport your biomethane, you can either use a bio-CNG, or you can even inject it to the natural gas pipeline and deliver it to your cogen plant or wherever you need the biogas. So the resource and the technical is not really an issue. You have the resource of biogas to convert to biomethane, and technically it can be done. But I think the question will be how to make it commercially attractive. And then I think that's the discussion that we need to have, how to make biogas, biomethane or bio-CNG attractive, commercially attractive enough.
Right. Fully agree with you. Thank you again, Rosman, for your insights. Guillaume, on Rosman's point, do you have anything to add as to these specific technologies around bio-CNG?
I think Rosman make the two very valid point. Really, that's what we see on the market from a private company. We really see that's the natural gas is really the step one, and we have several projects where we have supported clients with our technical and financial capabilities to switch the fuel. Clients which were running on diesel or heavy fuel. Then we came and the business case were there. It was providing savings. It was a no-brainer when we did the audits and when we confirmed the financials of that fuel change to switch to natural gas from heavy fuel. Same for the CHP. Most of the projects that we have studied, 80% of them, it makes sense that provide saving on top of reducing the CO2 footprint. So fully agree that natural gas needs to be part of that evolution. There is another point which is very interesting, and Mr. Rosman highlighted. It's natural gas will evolve. The pipeline in Malaysia will reduce their own CO2 content, will switch to biogas, will switch to hydrogen in the future. So being part of the natural gas story will by itself help the transition, because it being part of a family which will reduce their CO2 footprint as well in the following years, and all the different gas grid worldwide are working on the same topics, how to make those guys greener and greener, and of course all the companies here on the call are working hardly on that.
Thank you. That's very insightful, Guillaume. So definitely beyond natural gas or bio-CNG, there are some interesting emerging technologies as well that are coming up, which are very green and very sustainable. On this topic, Suraj, can I get some of your insights around this topic as well? Can you talk about what are some of the leading technologies that may be brought into the industrial sector in the country, and maybe talk a bit about their benefits and drawbacks as well?
Sure. The technologies, as I said, has to suit the particular industrial sector. There's no one solution fits all. What we see, which is rolling out quite quickly, there's two parts to what I want to say about the low-hanging fruits, is the self-consumption solar. Through the NEM and SELCO scheme is picking up momentum, whereby facilities have large industrial roof space, which can be utilized for solar to offset their operations. So this requires a lot of assessment of their current operation to find the best solution that fits. But we see solar in the sense of rooftop installations now picking up. So that's one. Large-scale solar that is more of a grid-connected sort of arrangement that would suit the grid and to supply as well industries that require renewable energy. The other one, which I say low-hanging fruits, is industrial companies can look at EV, electric vehicles, for their logistics. You know, this could be a switch as well, whereby the large fleets of logistics of companies, and EV now is a proven technology, so there's no risk in going into this. And like I said, it must be complemented, because you still need to charge these vehicles. If you don't look at renewables down the line, you could have a large combined cycle plant still running on fossil to charge your batteries. But the fact remains that the EV vehicles are more efficient than your traditional combustion engines. So that's an easy shift if companies can understand, or the industry can understand, this large fleet of vehicles that can switch. Having said that, waste to energy is another area which is growing demand of growing population, and we consume more as human beings, and that has not changed. And through the working remotely, the power purchase of individuals have increased. So waste to energy in the sense of a centralized waste to energy solution in industry, I think should be looked into. Integrated waste management facilities, Iskandar is now looking into an integrated waste management facility in Singapore. The TUAS integrated waste solution, being a very compact country, waste is really looked into quite seriously. But I'm very positive that Malaysia, with focus now in Johor for a waste energy plant, and in Malacca as well, And I worked on the first waste to energy plant in Negeri Sembilan, 600 tons per day. So it solves a solution in two folds. One is by reducing landfills. In Malaysia, we have sanitary and unsanitary landfills, and that automatically reduces greenhouse gases. So the waste energy plant solves one problem of landfill greenhouse gases and also produces energy and green energy as well. And the big difference with waste energy, it's how do you say, the availability is much higher than solar. So it's almost like a baseload plant. It should be sought after, hence, but it's an emerging market in Malaysia, and I hope this picks up. So yeah, I see solar, waste to energy, as well as microgrids and so on, to integrate all of this together to be a real move forward.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Suraj. I think these are definitely the leading technologies in the green sector. But other than, let's say, waste to energy or solar, I mean, the green energy is a keyword that keeps coming up, right, in energy evolution. So other than these two, can you share a bit more other latest global trends that you see are emerging in this green energy sector? For example, what are your thoughts on hydrogen, for example, or even microgrids? Do you have any specific thoughts around this green energy?
Sure. I mean, the global energy trend, like you said, is to look for alternative outside of fossil fuels. So that's quite clear. The initiative in other parts of the world is driven by, like I said, decrees and policies to shut down landfills. So that makes it easier and promotes renewable energy. As far as hydrogen technology goes, I think Guam, I will bring you in later as well to talk about a little bit about this. But the switch from coal to combined cycle plants was a big move in the industry, and Jacobs are working on the largest combined cycle, 2,200 megawatts in Malacca. So that's a large combined cycle plant there. As far as renewable goes, solar is still moving forward. And we'd like to see, like I said, more of a waste to energy plants. So the global trend is to switch away from fossil fuels. We all know that. But it's in the way it's implemented now and how fast you can achieve that via funding and de-risk renewable energy technologies. I think we need the financial institutions to come in as well to support this driving trend with their risk management sort of framework. You know what I mean? To support green projects. So we're looking at both sides. You have the developers who are keen. We have the policies, but you also need the funders to support these projects to move it forward. So yeah, that's my view.
Thanks, Raj. I think later on we can talk a bit more about investment cost being a barrier or the cost factor of going green as well. But before that, I would like to remind everybody or the audience to ask questions in the chat box or in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And taking away from what we have learned from our panelists so far, I wanted to invite everyone to participate in a poll. Please click on the green polling button that you see on the screen right now, and choose your answer accordingly. The question is, in your opinion, what is the most important factor for energy transition in the industrial sector? So there are 4 choices here. Allow easier access to green energy, attractive government initiatives with incentives, improve corporate image to attract investors, talents, and clients to the company, or more efficient systems that can contribute to cost savings over the long run. So maybe let's take about the last 5 seconds for everyone to choose their answer. Yeah. Thank you very much for your participation. While waiting for the poll results to be tabulated, maybe we can take a look at one of the major factors that Suraj just mentioned, right? Which is the key factor that all the industrial players will always talk about when it comes to investment into sustainability. So this is basically the need for an upfront investment to invest into this green technologies. So cost is often considered one of the biggest barrier in energy transition, and also adoption of new technologies. Can I get your thoughts on how do you think energy companies or utility companies can help to mitigate this particular cost or money factor?
Yeah, sure. so Suraj make a very comprehensive list of different solutions which can support the decarbonization of individual site. There will be always debate about any of them. Of course, fossil fuel, no, natural gas typically is something which can support the decarbonization and so on. But there is one point that I want to highlight on this, which to your topic, ENGIE, is that aside the technology itself, we're definitely, I will Suraj having that expertise, because Jacobs has way better capabilities than me, no doubt on this. There is different business model which can be pursued. It is understood and it is normal that a company in the pharma business or the not only 50 of their, most of the time it's normal, and it that they are and curves is company which can so here, and there is a company doing this. I'm not only here can give different support, which is of course the technical one, the financial one. That's where is to try to that can, if the last 10 years that of business here, all seen the same. If an energy measure has above 2 or 3 years, present that to my board of directors, it will never pass. Times meeting. It makes sense when it's to your core business. It's not supposed to be an investment which has 10 or 15 years payback. That's why it has to be to a company where it is our core business transition. So a certain project where the payback 9 years or 10 years is our core business. So that we are ready to go on the market for this and so on and so forth. So it's really above the technology aspect, which about things this kind of business, and in South it starts to emerge, and it because that's a way to accelerate that evolution by a very significant path.
No, thank you. I agree more with you. But let's take a look at the poll results, right? So more than half of the voters have voted for more efficient systems as, that can contribute to cost savings over the long run. And the second highest is actually the government incentive and initiative, right? So we can come to that second highest in a moment. But on these more efficient systems, maybe I can get a bit of thoughts or insights from Suraj as a technical expert and specialist. What do you think we can help, let's say, the industrial players to address this kind of barrier or obstacle?
Sure. Let me dive results first. And if my maths doesn't fail me, it's about almost 50% have chosen onto the cost savings on the long run. So yes, naturally we look at that. But I like to say, as Guam also mentioned, it's about ethical investments here into green energy. Companies now with their sustainable reporting are not viewed positively by shareholders when they go and invest in very high returns, but not ethical sort of investment. So in green energy and to be more sustainable, it's about looking at it on a holistic view for your business. There's value proposition in moving into renewables as well. So these factors are a gap, like Guam mentioned, a payback period of 2 or 3 years, for high investment. That comes to a block when you approach your board. So, like I said, it's about ethical. There's no simple answer to giving the best solution for finance, but there are investors in the market who can come in and deliver the entire solution for you, and on a sharing basis. So that could be one of the starts, going to the experts who have delivered efficient systems, compared to you in-house trying to provide the solution, and then have a sharing basis with other companies who can do this. So we and Jacob bring these two together to understand the needs of industrial sector clients, and then finding the best partner in the market for cogen, and like I said, the rooftop solar solutions. So that's one way to really entrust the experts, but how they sell this internally in the organization is a key. But you must also address like HR matters, on sustainability, and I would like to say it again, it's ethical investment. It just makes sense to be more sustainable.
If I may add, just think, sorry to interrupt. If I may add, I cannot be more aligned with you, Suraj, but there is one thing that we hear every single client meeting, and I really want to repeat it here. If I look at probably, 100 or 120 projects that we have looked over the last 2 years, almost all of them bring savings. Green is not anymore something which comes with a premium. A cogeneration deliver savings. Solar delivers savings. Solar is cheaper than the grid. Cogeneration, thanks to the production of energy such as thermal energy, such as hot water, steam, or even chill water, brings savings to you. It is not something which should be seen as a premium or as a luxury. The only thing, and I see that it's very interesting, it's written over the long run. The only thing which is required from an industrial side from any kind of consumer is to consume. That sounds a bit weird, I agree, but what we ask is, are you going to operate over the next 10 years? In that case, you'll get savings. A solar project, if I take the most simple one, if you cover your roof with solar for self-consume under the name scheme, it will deliver savings, because again, that electricity that will be produced by the solar, whatever return you expect, is cheaper than the grid. However, you need to consume that electricity over, let's say, 12, 15 years minimum to benefit from those savings. So again, don't see those kind of evolution as a cost barrier. It's just a question of how it is done, how it is financed, how it is developed, but this brings savings.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Guillaume and Suraj. I think that there's almost a lot of green technologies today are almost a no-brainer from an investment standpoint. And when it comes to financial case, there's extremely strong financial case for companies to invest into green technologies. Rosman, can I get your take on the poll result? Because I see a lot of audience are also asking, besides cost savings, about government incentive and initiatives as the second most important factor. Can you share a bit of your insights on, an outlook on how Malaysia should accelerate or support the implementation of green energy, especially for the industrial sectors?
Okay, I wish I could say please refer to the National Energy Policy, but unfortunately, due to the current situation that we have now, with the political situation, we have to wait a little bit longer for the National Energy Policy. One of the issues that the National Energy Policy aims to hopefully will address is the segmentation of responsibility. For example, there is no single entity which is responsible for energy in Malaysia. Okay? The Ministry of Energy is basically essentially taking care of electricity. In terms of oil and gas, the regulator is basically Petronas, for example. Just now, Suraj mentioned waste to energy. That is basically under the Kementerian KPKT, which is the local government ministry. Then just now I mentioned about biogas, and biogas is actually under the Ministry of Plantation. So you have this different, how do you then tie everything together is basically through a comprehensive national energy policy, which we hope should be released whenever we settle down. There are already certain incentives available in the market, but the thing is also we don't have a one-stop page where we can go and then look into all the list of the incentives. So you have to know what incentive and who actually given the incentive for you to approach the incentive. For example, NGTC, which is the Nation Green Tech and Climate Change Corporation, do financing incentive in one in terms of green tech financial scheme, which is GTFS, and also the green investment tax allowance and exemption, which is the GITA-GITE. But then when you want to sell your excess electricity from your green energy, for example, you have the choice of applying a quality in tariff through SEDA, which is Sustainable Energy Development Authority, or you can actually offer yourself to Energy Commission through the new enhanced dispatch arrangement, which is NEDA. Okay? Unfortunately now, unlike the gas market where the market now allows third party to sell gas to anybody, electricity is still regulated and is not yet open to third party. Even peer-to-peer selling is now on pilot phase. So it's still a long way to go in terms of that. But another thing that is always been talked around is carbon tax. Is carbon tax something that Malaysia should be looking at, for example? And then then you talk about carbon trading. Is there such thing as carbon trading in Malaysia or carbon offset? So there are quite a number of things that can be done, but unless we have a comprehensive national energy policy, it's still quite fragmented.
Thank you very much, Rosman. I think this is a very interesting perspective and very comprehensive information as well.
I'd just like to jump in, Jinky, and just say one thing regarding the various ministerial departments. And to move to innovation, you need this cross sort of relationships between the ministries. And to execute, if you just think about executing a microgrid, with bringing all of these together, I think you need a fleet of 10 ministerial, departments in front of you. So a collaborative task force would be also interesting, to bring them all together, to have one driver to advise, end of the day, the Prime Minister's office or the Ministry of Finance, who's going to drive these things with national funding, for example. So I can't agree with you more. We need to have a funnel for these projects to happen.
I agree, Suraj, because that's where the national energy policy should be addressing all this issue. Another thing I forgot to mention is when you talk about hydrogen, it is most likely will be under MOSTI. So you have different ministry in charge of different energy sources in Malaysia.
Right. Okay. No, it's extremely interesting. So I think conscious of time as well, before we go on to take some of the questions from the Q&A board, I have one last question, right? So you talk about all the pressing matters today that we are facing with all the uncertainties in front of us with pandemic and with the political landscape today. How would you look at the question of how do we balance sustainability priorities versus all the other uncertainties that everybody is facing today in the short term, right? Maybe Suraj, can you share your insights on this particular topic?
How do you? The pandemic is just top in the list, isn't it, compared to anything else? Yeah. But sustainability will last forever. Well, I say for last forever. Green energy, we hope, will outlast every one of us. There's no simple answer to this. But if we don't start now in sustainability, it's the future generations that will get affected. So we have to live and overcome this current climate and challenges, but we should not forget to put in place the implementation of sustainable energy. And just one point before I pass to the rest, there must be a person in the organization to drive this through. At the moment, it's people are doing dual roles. You also take care of sustainability and maybe corporate communication. So there must be one person that goes to the board to say that I'm going to drive the company's sustainable goals. It's a sustainable reporting as well. To a part of a securities commission to what is your company's sustainable goal. And there's I just talked to my colleague this morning, and he said that it's a shame game for the companies because you disclose how much carbon emissions you are producing from your organization. So it's and they rank in New Zealand and Australia as a table ranking of the top 10 companies who are contributing the most carbon emissions. So, like I said, my point is there must be a person to drive this in an organization.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you, Suraj. Thank you again. Guillaume, what about you? What do you think about the priorities of sustainability versus all the other headwinds that we are facing today?
I do think the same thing that Suraj. I'm currently in quarantine, so the impact of the COVID is well known to me. I'm stuck in a hotel currently, and not later than yesterday evening, I was reading to try to find sleep due to the jet lag. I was reading the books of Bill Gates about the transition and the problem of the climate change, and I just find it so depressing being stuck on a hotel with my kids, reading a book saying that basically everything that we are living now is probably nothing compared to what we will have by 2050. And it was the date which shocked me, and I decided to put the book away because it was enough. We are talking about in 40 years, we are talking about our life, most likely, definitely the life of our kids, but even ours. And all the reports, if you read the latest reports from the JEC, all the report shows that it's almost tomorrow. And if we have all suffered about the crisis now, we shouldn't ignore then that what could happen to us in the near future will be probably on what we are living. Even if I must say that being in a room is already not something that I would like to do twice.
Indeed, I think this pandemic perhaps could be a wake-up call for everybody to put more priorities on sustainability.
And it is the case. Again, on day-to-day basis, we see the government releasing a lot of incentive. We see banks moving forward to green financing. We see companies moving forward with that. We are having a lot of clients now which call us asking for support now because they have to stop the production. It's the right time to move forward. So we do see a little bit of, as you say, something where everybody is checked and needs to move forward. So I'm optimistic.
Yes, couldn't agree more with you. And conscious of time, I think we have got about 12 to 15 minutes max left. Maybe I can start taking some of the questions from the Q&A board. Let's take a look at some of the questions from the audience. I guess a very interesting question is that what are some of the key challenges that industries will have when using natural gas as the main source of fuel, and how can we overcome them? I guess, Rosman, maybe you can share some of your views on this.
Sure. Let me think. Okay. I think I'll approach this from the supply perspective. Okay. So essentially, when you want to receive gas or get gas delivered to your facilities, there's two ways. One is via pipeline. Another one, you can actually deliver it via trucks. We call this a virtual pipeline system. Okay? So for supply to the pipeline, your site needs to be located quite near to the distribution pipeline. And the thing is that the gas pipeline the gas delivery pipeline sector has been liberalized. So the gas market has been liberalized, meaning that you can now buy from what they call it, multiple suppliers. Because since 2017, the market has been open to third-party access. So currently, there's about a dozen registered sellers with Energy Commission that you can buy from. And the price of gas now is no longer determined by the government. So because from January 2022 onwards, all the gas price will be sold on willing buyer, willing seller basis. And if you are not connected to the pipeline, you can still purchase gas via trucks, or you can. It's either in the compressed form, you call it CNG, or even in liquefied form by LNG. Because in Pengerang you have the LNG unloading facility where you can deliver gas in a higher volume. It's more condensed, so it's in a higher volume. So supply side, it's quite interesting now that you can actually get it from any source that you like. So challenges, not too much because the market is now open. You just need to, it's now the ball is in the consumer's court to choose the right supplier and also to negotiate for the right pricing.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting perspective. I think we have time for probably one or two more questions actually. If I look at the next question, right, it's again very interesting. I think it's also quite related to you as well, Rosman. It seems that the audience like to ask you questions. As renewable energies are fast reaching the grid parities and battery technologies going down in cost, where do you think it leaves liquid natural gas as a fuel of choice in the future of electricity decarbonization?
Okay, this is interesting because at the moment you have globally you have an issue of higher demand than supply in terms of natural gas. Predominantly is caused by certain scenario. One example is in July last month in UK has about 26 gigawatt of installed capacity of wind turbine. But the problem is during the month of July, you had the so-called wind drought, and they can only dispatch a few hundred of wind turbine. And this means that somebody has to take over and supply the electricity, and that's where natural gas comes in to save the day. So the thing is, because natural gas is the cleanest burning fuel, is more flexible, it emits no pollution, roughly no pollution, and also have a lower in terms of emission of CO2. It is a prerequisite to have natural gas in your system until such time where your intermittency is solved. And then going into the future, you still need baseload. Suraj talked about waste to energy as a baseload. It is possible, but the thing is, since I know Suraj, since I worked with Suraj last time, I was also trying to push and sell waste to energy. And until now, you can count by probably one finger how many waste to energy plant in Malaysia after 10 or 15 years, and that kind of thing. So going forward, you need the right policy, and you need to also have the right mix. Like what Suraj said, there's no single silver bullet. You need all the types of energy in order for you to have a proper and pragmatic energy transition.
And just to add, I think the world has made a mistake to have too high dependence on fossil fuels such as coal or oil. We shouldn't do the same. Going for 100% renewable energy with battery would be a mistake because I mean, the battery is not something which is completely impactless for the environment. And that would not be possible to be for a country or even an industry to be 100% fueled with this kind of energy. So the energy mix needs to be a mixed. So of course, renewable is a solution. Battery needs to play a role in order to pass on peak and to increase decrease the problem of intermittence of renewable energy. Natural gas, as mentioned by Osman, is the best current fuel to support those kind of renewable energy. But we shouldn't. It would be a wrong assessment to say solar now is way cheaper than the grid. Let's go 100% on this. You need to have a kind of mixed in a country in order to have a proper sourcing of electricity, I would say.
I agree with you completely. And ENGIE, if I may just add one point, we need that balance between base load or baseload plants that keep industry running, as well as renewable energy. But the solution is much simpler if we're on a flat line in growth. The problem is our demand of energy is rising. So now we have to think of how do we support the grid with rising demands of energy. So either we introduce more fossil or we offset, let the fossil be as it is, but to offset the growing demand with renewable energy. So I think that's the dynamic we're looking at. The graph is going up with the world consumption, with new innovation, new technologies, and I would like dare to say that, Bitcoin is consuming as much as one country alone, and I'm not sure how it benefits my life, but it's about to cater for the growing demand. That's where renewable energy comes and plays a part. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for the great insights and perspective. I wish we had more time to take on more Q&As, but I guess we only have 5 minutes left. But again, thank you, everybody, for your interesting questions and reactions from the panelists. Before we conclude the webinar, can I go around the table to just get some final thoughts on today's topic from our panelists? Rosman, can I ask you to spend just 1 minute to conclude or summarize your key takeaway from this webinar?
Okay, so when Tun M announced launched the Wawasan 2020 back in 80s, I was wondering, will I still be alive for Wawasan 2020? Now you're talking about net zero emission in 2050. I think I'll still be alive in 2050 to either enjoy the clean air or suffer with all the mistakes that we are doing today. But I think ESG and the pressures from the investors are the key in terms of changing the mindset and changing the way that we do business. In fact, Malaysian Petroleum Resources Corporation is a unit under EPU, is also holding a series of forum in terms of addressing the ESG impact to the oil industry. So I think that the pressures from the investment community and will be a determining factor in terms of changing how we do business in future.
Yep, fully agree with you, Rosman. Thanks again. Suraj, what about you? Can you share some of your final conclusions that you get from this webinar?
I think it's great that this was organized by ENGIE and addressing energy evolution. It's about, for me, end of the day, is about climate change. We need to live in this planet for another 100 years or more, and it's about finding a more sustainable source of energy. In being able to appreciate the life we live in, and we can read all over. The natural disasters are popping up even more frequent than before. So this is a real concern. And the growing demand of industry and technology, that is not stopping. So end of the day is just consume less and work with what we have. So again, I say waste to energy is my passion, because the landfills we should not expand it, we should reduce it. And and we can repurpose that space for other things. So like I said, this is one area. And I think there was another question on third world countries and so on. This could be adopted everywhere. Different models, different financial models work for different countries. But that mindset of a sustainable living needs to be there, and industry needs to drive this ethical sort of investment. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Suraj. And last but not least, Guillaume, do you have any final thoughts or key takeaways that you would like to share with the audience?
Yes, so there was very interesting comparison between what we are living in right now with the COVID and the global warming. There is a major difference between both COVID, except maybe some biopharmaceutical company. Nobody benefits from the COVID. It's a crisis for everybody, and that's a disaster for everybody. It's not the case for climate change. Climate change is an opportunity to wake up, to stand up, to take some actions, and those actions will help your company, will help yourself as an individual, and so on. Again, that deliver savings, that deliver a better product, that deliver a better image, brand, and so on and so forth. So we shouldn't see it as a threat, but should see it as an opportunity. The only thing is, since it's a, let's say, global war, I don't like to use like military wording, but since it's something where everybody is in the same boat and everybody is suffering with the same issue, we should not stay alone looking at it. There was a question that we didn't have time to address, which were about how to make sure that we can benefit from the biogas coming from palm oil meal. the question is very valid. If you are a small consumer asking, can we lay 50 kilometers of pipeline, we'll never get rid of it. Of course, no, there is no business case. There is you cannot subsidize for that. The government is not crazy. But by being all together with company which can group, we can integrate the request from everybody, and then you can combine all the financing, all the need of everybody in order to achieve what we want. So it's really something that we need to think. We are seeing that every day, competitors which are talking together in order to group their requirements in terms of energy and come to us saying, can you agglomerate all this and deliver solutions to us and so on. A CHP will always be more profitable if it's for 1, 2, 3 clients, and you just need someone to integrate everything. So that's really my take of these kind of things. When we see what's going on, where all the country try to help each other on the COVID, that's exactly what we need to do with climate change. All the company, all the person, or the individual, all the cities, all the country needs to group together in order to fight with common solutions.
Thanks, Guillaume. And again, thank you everyone for your interesting takeaways. So from what we have heard so far from all of you, I guess we can all agree that energy evolution is definitely not an overnight process. It takes collective efforts from everybody to play a part in making it happen. And I think what we do today towards decarbonization is going to play a big part tomorrow in Malaysia's ambition towards reducing our carbon emission by 45% by 2030. And I think the important thing is that by working with the right partners, all the decarbonization goals and targets can be achieved alongside with cost savings. It no longer comes with a premium anymore today with all the emerging technologies. Again, a big thank you to all our speakers and panelists and all the audience who have joined us today. And special thanks to the organizer of iGEM and Malaysian Green Technology and Climate Change Center. Thank you for making the webinar possible. Also, thank you everybody for taking time off your busy schedule to attend this webinar and asking questions. We would like to invite you to continue the multi-city conversation that we are going to have on energy transition in Southeast Asia in the coming weeks and months. So please do look out for more information in your mailbox via ENGIE Southeast Asia LinkedIn page. With that, we have come to the end of today's webinar. So please help us with a short survey, which we will be sharing with you after this webinar. And there will be also a copy of the recording that will be available for viewing after this. If you would like to find out more about decarbonization or decarbonizing the industrial sector, please feel free to reach out directly to us via the email address that you're going to see that you see on the screen here, or simply by scanning the QR code right now. So again, thank you everyone and have a great week ahead. Stay safe and goodbye.
Thank you very much.